You've heard the saying, dance like nobody's watching. You know, what does that mean? If you're dancing in the shower, is it different than if you're dancing on Dancing with the Stars? Is that a different situation? Dance like nobody's watching. Maybe the intent behind that saying is dance like nobody's judging. Maybe that's the intent. Sing like nobody's judging. The irony, the final irony in the situation is that nobody is watching. It's actually true. Not even your own self. And then after that, it becomes not ironic, it becomes some sort of a gratitude. Because that's the only way that the consciousness can release that burden of manifest, turned into memory type buildup. There has to be some way to release that. And it's released in the knowledge that it's made up. The whole thing is made up, including yourself, including everybody, all the drama, all the wars, all the fighting, all the family stuff, literally everything that anybody can imagine, everything that actually does seem to exist is also all made up. And nobody's watching. They teach that in Buddhism 101. Your first line of inquiry is always, who am I, right? And then you do that you do the drill inside your head and try and find out who you are. Look inside of yourself, you know, feel within, see if you can find your name floating around anywhere. Like I can look inside and find if Gary's anywhere floating around. See if that's there. Eventually you're like, nah, it's not. And then eventually the question breaks down. The who am I question breaks down, and you see that the words didn't mean anything anyway to begin with. And throughout all of the inquiry, there still is an observing going on. There is a consciousness, a presence and awareness, and there's memory, and there is a future projection contemplation, but the persona is never found. It's never ever found. It does seem to be there. In the beginning it seems like it's a thing, and then eventually it's not a thing anymore. But the awareness, the consciousness, the flow continues on. In a much lighter fashion, and it's not heavy, it's not burdensome. And the nobody is watching thing is also freeing, because then you're not sitting there conjuring up beings watching and judging you, or deities, or devils, or your mom, or your dad, or yourself. You can sit down with 3 of your closest friends inside of a living room and have a heart-to-heart discussion about anything and everything that pops up, and you can do your best. You can use all the possible words you can think of to try and dig into the thing and get at what's really going on. You can give each other hugs, you can maybe have sex with each other, you can mind fuck with each other, you can write elaborate thesis statements, maybe provide some dissertations. You can do anything and everything you can possibly imagine, all together, 4 people or more or less in a room. Maybe you should add some substances, maybe take some shrooms or DMT, maybe drink some beer, maybe do some holotropic breath work and dive into the subconscious. You do that, you can do that for 2 or 3 hours. And at the end of it, if you're not still on the I am going to achieve something here, or we're working towards something here, if you're not on that anymore, then you simply realize that in the midst of all of this discussion and unraveling and maybe going down some rabbit holes, whatever, and could be perfectly meaningful, you've connected a lot of dots, you've figured this and that out. In the midst of all of that, the existence itself is simply like pulsing and breathing and going on, dripping on, oozing along in an infinitely incomprehensible fashion while you're doing all that stuff, and it's untouched by all of that discussion, and all the discussion and unraveling and figuring out and this and that is all perfectly flawlessly integrated and interwoven into that sort of impersonal, dripping, oozing thing that's going on, that's you can't grasp or touch. And what used to be some sort of a paradoxical problem is simply like a known. It's like, oh yeah, that thing. It's also interwoven, and it's not a problem anymore. So basically, what you might want to try is play peeping Tom on yourself. Take a day, just you know, see if you can do it. Can you eavesdrop on your own life? Can you like sneak around the back and take some pictures and, you know, see what you've been up to? Because you might not be aware of it. You might have been doing all kinds of things during the day and you have no clue. You've been doing sleeper fashion living, you know? So try and eavesdrop on your own life, which just means, you know, try and watch yourself, see if you can even do it. Do you know yourself? I would say that you do not know yourself. Do you know the people that you consider friends? Close friends? Get in there with someone that you know and love, trust. Get in a room with them and like actually look at them, you know, without the sheen of assumed knowledge of that person, without that overlay, you know, just look at them, see if you can figure it out. So try eavesdropping in on your own life for 5 minutes, I don't know. Watch yourself. Just maybe take the idea, maybe this thing that has been pretending that it's me is some sort of automaton and there isn't any person controlling it whatsoever. You know? Let's see what this person has been up to. Let's see what this guy or girl is actually doing during the day, because you know, myself, whoever that is, somehow thinks that it knows what's going on, but there's a good chance that it doesn't. So maybe get in there and eavesdrop, play a peeping Tom. The knowledge, the supposed knowledge that people like to run around thinking that they have, is much more of a overlay, sheen, blinder, blocker from you to this other person organically. And if you actually be with another person organically without that blocker sheen, that screen in between you, that knowledge screen, you will have dived directly into the mystery, and everything is fulfilled in that exploring, that sort of innocent. And of course, you have to trust this person. You know, you can't do that with just anybody. But if you find somebody and know somebody who is willing to do that, just that simple exploring of the moment in a curiosity-based fashion, you never run out. Like, you're never bored or unfulfilled or whatever, because you just hold the knowledge that it's a mystery. You can't figure it out. You can't touch it with knowledge. Knowledge only clouds over the top, and it's endless. So try that. Try peeping Tom yourself. See what happens. Peace.